Welcome to the ripple effect of love for dads and families. Today, we focus on finding your joy after your trial. Sometimes we need support to do that. I'm Christine Bernat, stress management coach, and I'm excited today to have Todd Lingel here from the CARES Foundation. And he specializes, or his nonprofit organization specializes in supporting children affected by drugs, alcohol, or suicide and their families. So, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today, Todd.
Thank you for having me on, Christine. I really appreciate it. It's my pleasure.
What got you started with helping these children, well, mostly teens, I would say, right? And young adults, maybe?
Yeah. I what started it for me was my mom and my sister were killed by a drunk driver when I
Mm,
was 3 years old. And going back, and that was 1975 when they passed. And growing up, the old adage, buck up, buttercup, was kind of the adage out there. And, you didn't go to counseling. If you went to counseling, you were a weirdo. And
yeah,
so, growing up, I always felt like there was something off, and I wasn't sure really what that was until later in life.
yes. And and it's bottling up these emotions. So I'm really glad that you talk about that because in my life experience and what I've been through, um, that's what I found is the core issue to some people will go towards the drugs, the alcohol, or the suicide. But then there's people like me that get sick and our bodies shut down and our bodies won't move forward. Even our brain will shut down. And which is better? None, really. Learn to self regulate so that you can be you and you can love yourself enough to get yourself out of there. So, how do you help these beautiful teens that are struggling right now?
Well, one of the first things we try to do is I go around to schools, and I'll go anywhere. I tell people, if you have a sleeping bag for me and a floor, I'll be there.
Mm,
And so I'll talk about my experiences, because the kids hearing what you've gone through can maybe help them with what they're gone through or going through, and hopefully even prevent something. If kids are having a situation that comes up, that, oh, they can maybe remember my story and say, oh, I can reach out and get help. Because, fast forward to that mid 30s, I almost committed suicide.
mm,
I Those feelings that I had, that from my mom and sister being killed, all came up, and I had to deal with it. So I went through 4 years of counseling. Clear back to when my mom and my sister were killed when I was 3, and I was able to mourn their death, which I had never had a chance to do. So I went through the 7 stages of grief, and doing all of that just brought everything out, and it's like a breath of fresh air. And I learned I had general anxiety and separation anxiety. So when we go around and talk to these kids, I share that with them and let them know there are ways to get help, and not to just bottle it in. Because, like you just said, you bottle it in, it's going to come out some way, one way or the other, being
yes.
sick or something like that. So that's one thing we do. We do have a kids camp that we're putting on in Arizona right now. The goal is to have one in all 50 states, um,
Mm.
and then a kids life program that we're putting together. So
That's really cool because, there's so many things that are happening, and sometimes parents are just at ends with, and they need that support. And, I always say getting support is a strength. Every leader, if you read carefully, they got support to become the leader that they are today.
absolutely.
So, these beautiful parents that are here today, and, I like my heart goes out to you if you have teens that are struggling with any of these symptoms of these issues, and it's important to allow the space to ask yourself, what can I do to support my kids? And sometimes kid camps are really, really cool for the kids. It's a great experience for some, and that's really exciting. What else would you like to share with these dads and families today?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about our camp. It's open to anyone that's been affected by drugs or alcohol, any kids or veterans, kids that have been affected by suicide.
Mm.
And so, what we are want to do at our camp, and our camp this year, the theme is Survivor, like the TV show.
Mm.
And so, we're gonna have some competitions and stuff like that, but we're gonna have some. I would say I use counseling, but it's lightly because it's not. We don't want to get anything deep to where we trigger a child.
Yeah,
But
no, definitely not. You don't want to be triggering them, but you want to be bringing them support. Yes.
yeah, and some value. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take like a word like anger, and we're just gonna talk about it. Really, what is anger?
Yeah.
And then that's gonna be the morning session. In the afternoon, we'll get together and we'll talk about it as a group. What did you think about the morning session? And then we'll just talk about things. And so we want to take a topic like that every day that we're at the camp, and uh, and then when we're done with the camp, we're not just going to say, "Hey, see you later, kids." Nice knowing you. We want to get together with the kids every quarter and check in. How are you doing? Do you need anything? We might give them another tool or two. And I was meeting with the Elks organization here in Chandler, Arizona. This was last week, and I told the gentleman, the president, that what we were planning on doing. He goes, "Well, do you have a place to host those kids when you get together every quarter?" And I said, "No, we don't yet." He goes, "Now you do." So the
Oh,
Elks have given us their location to have the kids there. So yes, absolutely. Elks Foundation is wonderful.
oh, I am so excited that you're getting support for this amazing cause, Todd.
Thank you.
And I love that you're going to take those emotions and allow them to express them. Um, just a thought like this, I are you those who don't want to share out loud, but are more maybe a journal where they can
Mhm.
journal about it while everybody's talking? Because some kids are very, very reserved,
Absolutely.
and they have a lot of shame behind it, or they're just too afraid of the reaction, or they don't have enough self-confidence. So that might be a really cool idea, and this is great for dads and families that are listening today, because sometimes our children just are not ready to share, and especially if we haven't been able to create that safe space. And I'm certain you're going to create a safe space for these children to feel that no matter what happens, because we all know that in groups there can be bullying, even though it's the last thing you want,
Yeah.
right? So, how are you going to create the environment so that in case somebody was victim of bullying or would feel that way, right? Um, how are you planning to support them in that?
Well, we're going to have multiple volunteers there, and in
Mm.
each cabin, there's only going to be 8 students, and there'll
Oh,
be and there'll be two adults,
mm,
and so there's going to be some camp time or some cabin time,
mm,
and so that the adults will have a little just a discussion maybe on it, and where it's a more intimate time, and we want the cabin to be small and intimate like that, so that if there are kids that aren't comfortable talking in a group,
yes.
they can come to one of them that they build a relationship with and talk with them. Our whole thing is not just sharing at the camp, but building relationships that we're hoping that will last outside of it for the adults as well as the kids. Um,
Yeah.
and all of our individuals working with the kids are going to be level one fingerprint cards, so they can have background check and all that. Um, and we're not gonna to put up with bullying. If there's any bullying at the camp, the individual that's doing the bullying is going to have one chance, because I
Mhm.
always believe in second chances, and we'll talk with them and say, hey, that's not cool, that's not good here, and
Yeah.
we want to lift everybody up, and then we'll integrate them back in things, and if it happens again, we don't want one person or two people to bring down everybody else's growth.
Yeah, no. And when kids bully often it's because they've seen it happen at home, unfortunately, or they're hurting so much that they're unable to. So maybe if they like talking with you one-on-one might be what they need the most, so that they start feeling a bit of that love, because you have that kind of personality where the kids, I think, will feel safe around you, Todd. And that is so,
Thanks.
so important, that they feel safe enough to just be themselves, and sometimes teaming them up with better people, because when they arrive you don't always know who's who and what their story is. And
Yeah,
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 sometimes chemistry,
absolutely.
right? I mean, we always do our best, but sometimes chemistry, I mean, having been in schools for 30 years, I know how chemistry can create quite the issues, but also finding
Yeah.
a way that will make them feel safe and feel challenged at the same time, and heard and seen and valued is so, so important.
Yeah, that's the goal. And thinking about as
Mhm.
you're talking there, talking to dads and parents together, you know, challenge your kids when you're at home. And the biggest thing too is take one night or
Mhm.
2 nights, even better than that, 3 nights. Put the
Yes.
electronics down. Engage with your kids. That's what they are really needing. And when I mean engage, sit down and play a game together. Um, Ask questions. Hey, what's going on in school today? And if they don't want to tell you, don't hound them, but just keep on with it, because eventually they'll come out and start talking. Because what I've found today, there's a big disconnect between the kids and the parents now because of
Yes.
electronics. And I experienced this, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you a little story here. I experienced this when I coached high school
Mhm.
basketball. And I had a defense. It's called a matchup zone, and you have to talk. The
Okay.
defense has to really talk together, and they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't communicating. And so our first away game, I noticed. I thought to myself, "Man, the bus is really quiet." And like
Yeah.
when I'm growing up, I mean, the bus was loud.
Oh
They were
my gosh,
like, "Be
it's the
quiet! You can't."
noisiest place is a bus trip to somewhere with the kids.
But it was quiet. I'm like, "What's going on?" So I looked, and everybody's on their phone. And I walked back there, and I can't remember the kids' names now that I had there, but
It's okay.
they're sitting there, and I said, "Who you texting?" "Oh, I'm texting," and he was sitting right in front of him. I said, "Just turn around and talk to each other,
Yeah.
guys."
Yeah.
You know, and so I after that I took cell phones away. They couldn't bring their cell phones
Mm.
on the bus, and before games, even at home, they couldn't, and so
Yeah.
because they had to talk. And so that first trip away after taking their cell phones, man, they
Yeah.
didn't know what to
Yeah.
do. They were it was a little bit they had some kids would talk, and so then one of my players said, "Hey, can I bring some cards or something like that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I said, "Bring a boombox if you want to." And he kind of
Oh
looked at
my
me kind of
gosh.
weird, kind of like, "What's that?" I said, "Ask your parents." And so he actually brought one the next away game, and they were playing music, and they started talking, and man, the
Mm.
communication on the defense just rose and rose, and it was amazing. And I had a parent come to me and say, "Thank you," because now they're talking at home, and they're taking their cell phone away at
Yes.
home, just talking and communicating, and go be a step beyond that. Take each one of your kids
Yes.
out
Yes.
sometime. Have a date night with your child and do something
Yes.
without the phones. Uh, and just that right
Yeah.
there, if the kids get into a situation and a problem, let them know that they can call you, because there are a lot of kids out there that are afraid to call
Yes,
their
and
parents.
to let them know that they can call you and will have zero consequences. There's this
Yeah.
really good book that I would recommend, even at the grade 5, 6 level, to parents, was How to Say No to Your Friends and Keep Your Friends. Because that's one of the greatest fears. They don't want to lose the friends. Some of them only have one or two, and they don't want to lose those one or two friends. But how do you say no and keep your friends? And I remember this example in the book where um, the teenager had decided to take the parents' car and go for a drive. And I mean, and then I don't know, he went to a party, he drank, and instead of calling the parent to say, "Oh, I," well, he drove the car, got in an accident. injured someone else, and it just kept snowballing because that child
Yeah.
had done something that he knew wasn't okay and did not feel safe enough to call home. So the things just kept getting more and more out of sync, if you will. And I love that you
Yeah.
said, you know, play games. My children are 31 and 25, and in February for my birthday, we played games. And you choose the games, right? If you don't
Mhm.
want to play some long winded game, don't give those as an option. But we played Scrabble, and the words that came out, it was funny. But I found out so much information about them
Mhm.
because while they're waiting, in their jokes, what they're saying, and then all of a sudden you learn this and you learn that. I think learned more than if we'd just been sitting around talking about nothing, because they have that I don't know, they're just in a different environment. It's relaxed, there's no pressure, and they enjoy just sharing tidbits of information. And my son and daughter started teasing each other, which they hadn't done in a while, but in a nice way, Oh, yeah, next time we go
Yeah.
rock climbing, you'll see, I'll get you. And and it's
Nice.
so nice that they've reconnected together, because we've had some rough goes in our relationships, and now the two of them spend time together. But what was needed behind that was for me to self-regulate and let go, because sometimes as
Yeah.
parents we just want to fix everything, but in the end it's the
Yeah.
last thing we need to do.
Yeah. And I've found kids today, you know, they keep telling me like, well, we want some respect. I'm like, well, respect goes both ways. So I said, if you want some respect, then you have to
Yes.
give some respect. And it's different than when I grew up,
Yeah.
or we grew up, is you had to earn the
Yeah.
respect totally, kind of thing. And so I've especially learned this when I go into group homes. There's 140 group homes there in the valley in Arizona. And when I've gone in, that's kind of what I feel. And I said, hey, that's great. I'll give you some respect. You show me
Yeah.
some respect. So can you sit up on the couch and take your hoodie off?
Yeah.
And most of them do. They give me that respect. And I said, one question I asked these kids, I said, have you ever heard the persona or the comments of, oh, you're a group home kid, so you must be
Yeah.
bad?
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
we've
they've
we
all
they
heard it,
raise their
yeah.
hands like, yeah, we do that. Yeah. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I think you're in a great position. And they kind of look at me like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? I'm like, here's why. I said, all of us in life are going to have a time to make a decision. We turn right and do something good, or go to the left and do something bad. And I used to be a correctional officer, and I tell the kids and be a resident where I used to work. And I said, you guys unfortunately have gone through some things in your life. I don't know what each individual has gone through, but I said, you've gone through that. And I said, you're at that point to make that decision
Mm.
early in life. So I said,
Yeah.
that's an advantage, because if you take a turn to the right, you're off and running and you know what life's about already. I said, there's kids out there that are being spoon fed by their parents
Yes.
still, that have no
Yeah.
clue what life's about. So I said, it's up to you guys to make that choice, but you can make the choice now and just rocket your world. And
And I love how
so
you say it's
it's,
helping them see different perspectives. Because
yeah.
sometimes, people say things to us, it hurts us, and we're stuck in that. And we're not able to see that there are other ways of seeing the opportunity. And not everyone has that ability to see other opportunities. And a camp like CARES Foundation sounds like a great place for them to open up to different perspectives. And I
Absolutely.
have a parent who's here who's going to hop on with us. Give me a second.
Okay.
And Christian
Awesome.
Mendez is a dad that's been working with me and been on the ripple effect of love for dads, and been following and learning to self regulate in order to help his four children that vary from the age of 6 to 12. So he's been doing some phenomenal work with his children to prevent exactly from getting to the point where your children are turning towards alcohol, drugs, or suicide, right? He's reconnecting with his children at a very, very deep level, I would say. Christian,
Yeah, thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having
Hey,
me. Good
Christian. How you
morning,
doing?
Todd. Just yeah, it really goes. It really comes back down to the ripple effect of love, but it comes back down to myself. And that's funny because I was thinking about that today, and just what demands of the world, and so many things that are happening. And so we've talked about self-regulation. It truly is going back to that brief mention from yesterday, which is learning a new language, which is our basic language of communication.
Yeah.
Really learning how to clearly communicate, how to
Mhm.
oppose communication, how to defend in communication, how to be heard in communication, and breaking a lot of the stigmas in regards to the shoulds. And that's one thing that, again, training professionally in sales and marketing scripts and all of that stuff, that's where you have the structure, and you have the different guidelines and policies. And by then you could, if you've self-regulated enough, I think that you can make it your own while still being able to deliver within those constraints, because you know who you are, you know what you want to say. And so it goes back down to clearly communicating. um, yeah, thank you, thank Todd for the cares foundation and what he's doing for suicide prevention, and whatever else that's going on. I met Todd very briefly. We had a meeting that I was actually running late to and couldn't make. So we'll definitely see when we can hop back on the meeting. But one of the big things that has always been at the heart of my mission, if you will, in life is really kind of reaching, and it's always been one arm up, one arm down. And that's because I want to get to the next tier with one arm up, but I also want to bring up the next, right? And so one arm down is definitely to bring up people, and I can't get tired. I really can't. Um,
Sorry, Christian, I'm going to interrupt you if that's okay. But
yeah.
Todd was saying that he's starting the CARES Foundation in Arizona, and we'll be looking for other states to bring this. And California might be a great place to bring the CARES Foundation, unless they all learn to self regulate and won't need it. But I doubt that would be a reality. So yeah, and that's the thing is learning to self-regulate has such a powerful is such a power. Have you ever tried the snap tap zap, Todd? How about
No,
I
I never
just
have.
lead you through it, and the audience, we can always self-regulate. There's always a little something bugging us, right? So I'm going to invite you to take a nice deep breath in, snap, or you can clap, and then tap on the sternum. Relax the shoulders and exhale the stress or whatever's bugging you, letting it all go. And then taking another deep breath in from the tip of your toes to the top of your head as you continue tapping. Relax the shoulders. Imagine yourself at a train station, and I want you to blow the worries, the stress into that train that's going to spiral down into the magma to burn it all. And let's do it one more time, breathing in, relaxing and closing our eyes to feel more what's going on in our body is excellent. And exhale onto that spiraling train. And how did that feel?
Oh, that's good. That's like I need to. I went through a breathing class years ago, and man, that just brought that all back. It's like,
Yeah,
ooh, I need to spend some time doing that during the
you're
day.
very
Thank you.
welcome. And
Well,
if you think
I'd
this,
like to. I like
yeah,
to. I like to pop in and say, Todd, when you get angry, when you get frustrated, how do you show that? How do you deal with that?
How do I show that or deal with it? Years ago when I was going through all the
Mhm.
stuff I was going through, I was a quick person to anger because I didn't know
Yeah.
what those emotions were. Now I don't really. I get I get more
Mhm.
frustrated than angry,
Yeah.
I guess you'd say. Um, and when I do, I'll try to go to a place and settle myself down and my nerves, and then I'll go
Mm.
talk to the person. Um, are there once in a while where you something will just get you, and all of a sudden, boom, you snap out? Yeah, I do that too. But when you do that, it's like, oh, you realize that, and you go back to the person and say, hey, I'm sorry. And so different stages of my life, definitely different ways you handle things. Um, and that's a great thing you bring up, Christian, because um, I talk about that a little bit when I talk with kids. It's that being responding is huge, and what you get back, because is it going to be a conversation, or is it going to be a
Mm.
yelling match, depending on how you respond to that. So that's a good point.
Exactly. And what Christian has been teaching his children. Do you want to share or do you want me to go ahead? We've got
It's
4 minutes
just,
left.
yeah, it's just the snap tap zap, and it's just self-regulation. My boys have actually learned it a little bit more, if you will. Have been practicing a little bit more. I have two boys, two girls, and then my two girls are starting to come around to see it. Although the girls are older than the boys, both of them, older than both boys. Um, and age is nothing but a number. We get so caught up in, oh, well, you're older, or hey, young person, or hey, this individual. Oh, how long have you been doing it? And I just wanted to pop that in there because it has nothing to do with age. It's the maturity of some individuals, and it's the IQ, but the EQ, right? So the emotional intelligence level that I want to help them with. My girls, I want to help with the nurture. And so each child is different, each situation is different. And now, because of self regulation, because of the ability to process everything and do things at a high performance, I was able to, let's say, put a turbo on my behind and self regulate and really clearly demonstrate and communicate what that looks like. And so, yeah, it is important, Todd, because as adults, we think, oh, well, we've got this, we've got that figured out, and we got, and so we know better. And so we say, hey, you shouldn't that. Oh, why shouldn't I? Because your limiting beliefs didn't allow you to express yourself in a way that was vibrant, living, joyful. You need a hug. And so our kids we'd love our kids to speak to us, right? But some of our parents, I'm sure they can barely even get a word in with their kids or have a communication. And at a middle school level, I see a lot of the sadness. And so definitely, I mean, there's just when kids are not clearly communicated or not seen, that's all we want to. And so I just end with that is when they get you frustrated, well, when the kids get an individual frustrated, all they're asking for is, hey, I want your individual attention. I want your undivided,
Yeah.
unconditional attention on me and this situation and what I am at. So what I've realized, and I'm sharing all the time because our wonderful Quebecian neighbor here, is the self-regulation definitely helps, but it goes back to I don't need anyone to give me an okay, or I don't need to feel like I need you to agree with me, Todd, or I don't need Christine. And then I give her credit where credit is due, but it's not because I want her to like me more. I like myself a lot more than anybody will ever. And I've come to the place where that's okay. And if Todd dislikes me or dislikes something that I say, that's okay because now I understand. And now I'm going to say, hey, Todd, was there something that I said? Or if you react or whatever way, I'm going to treat it with kindness. And it takes the same amount of energy to get angry as as it takes to be happy.
And on your journey,
Yeah.
what you learn to do is to snap, tap, and zap all these triggers. There are so many things that trigger a child rolling their eyes. I can remember teachers
Yeah.
just, it was terrible how their comments about the child that was rolling their eyes, but she was rolling her eyes because, well, I understood that it was because she didn't believe what the teacher was saying. And I felt the same way in that
Yep.
situation, right? But if you can self regulate and stay calm, no matter the chaos around you, it's so much better. So, any last words,
Absolutely.
Todd? Because we've gone over time again, and it's okay.
And if you want to know more about us, go to carestoday.org. That's KARES, then today.org.
Excellent.
You know,
Excellent. And maybe I
yeah,
can add that in the chat underneath, or I will be posting this on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And you're more than welcome to hop on and put the links that you would like to see there. That's, my pleasure to support such a beautiful organization that's going to help kids and these parents and families that just need it. And I love that you talked about taking the cell phone away, because that's one of my big things too. And interacting
yeah,
again. They may not be happy right away, but that's okay. You're the
yeah,
parent. And if you put it down,
absolutely.
then they'll follow along with you. But if you're on it while you're saying put your phone away, it's
Yeah,
going to be
exactly.
harder, right?
That won't work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you so much. And I look
You're
forward to
welcome.
hearing more.
Thank
And
you.
maybe we can have you on the show again as you get closer to your camp time and share some more insights from the CARES Foundation. So take
Thank you.
care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye-bye.
And anyone who's interested in the Ripple Effect of Love for Dads and Families private group, you are more than welcome to come and book a call with me so that you can work in a small group. A small group is always so important to support one another. And of course, there'll be tools to create confidence, boundaries, understanding, connection, reducing those emotions, self regulating, and a supporting group. And hurry up before March 10th. You get 6 days. You get the early bird with a $200 discount. And then after that, the price goes up to 900 Canadian for the year. It's a 12-month program. And I'm excited to support you on that journey. So have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow for more how to deal with those trials, how to